Back on BYU Sports Nation right now, Joe D'Ambrosio, the play-by-play voice of the UCONN Huskies and also the most popular man on campus in Stores/East Hartford. Joe, nice to have you with us again.
Well, first off, it's the 61-year-old man from the last time, and I did take some guff for that. So, and boy, you people are all super concerned with the weather. Come on.
It was traumatic. It
now,
really was.
Let me ask you a question. Did both teams play in the same conditions?
Yes, they did.
Okay. No more questions.
Yes.
You're winning.
Nice.
Point Joe. Okay, Joe, you're up 1-0 right now, but let's go. Here we are, 2 days away from the BYU UConn opener. How do you prepare yourself mentally as a play-by-play guy for the awesomeness that awaits in a new college football season?
It's great. I'm excited. I'm staying up late nights doing my the charts and stuff and trying to gather as much information as I can about BYU. CollegePressBox.com is a great source to log on to the Provo Daily Herald and the Deseret News and the Salt Lake Tribune, which fortunately are not pay sites as opposed to a lot of the papers now, which hit you like Kyle Van Noy when you're trying to do your research. How's that for a reference?
Oh, nice.
Well,
I would go 2 points for Joe.
Yeah, okay, 2-0.
But it's exciting. I think opening day for football fans is like Christmas. You're excited for it. You can't wait when it's a night game. It's a long day to get there. I always get to the stadium hideously early anyways, just in case of traffic or whatever. But it's fun. I think everybody in this neck of the woods is excited about it, even though they know the task ahead of UConn isn't an easy one.
The last time we spoke with you, you said that you didn't have tremendous access to be able to get to know this team maybe as well as you might have thought you would have. Have you had more access in fall camp to be able to get to know this team?
Yeah, it's been good, and I can tell you what, Spence and Jared, this is a group of kids that are really enjoying playing for Coach Diaco and the assistants. When you've lost for 3 years in a row, things are not, it's not Happy Valley, and I don't mean that literally. But this group, every time we get a chance to talk to them, we've had several opportunities to visit with the student athletes after practice and stuff. They're ready to play. They're in great shape. The emphasis on nutrition and conditioning has really had an effect on this team. And mentally, it's 2 days away from the game, and I'm sure they wish they could play, tonight at 7 o'clock, not Friday at 7 o'clock. So the guys are pretty excited and looking forward to their first chance under the bright lights on Friday.
Joe D'Ambrosio, voice of the UConn Huskies since 1992, joining us on BYU Sports Nation. Bob Diaco, in his first year as the UConn head coach, he's a guy that comes with a reputation from Notre Dame. He ran great defenses for the Fighting Irish. He knows BYU to a degree, even though BYU now has a little bit different of an offense. Is there an advantage for Diaco knowing BYU's program coming into his home field?
Maybe a slight one, but I think that's overrated. It's completely different personnel. He's going to be running the game. He's not worried about just one side of the football. He certainly trusts his coordinators and his quarterback coach, Don Patterson, who's been around for a long, long time. But I think any advantage in that is minimal, especially, and this was one thing I learned while doing, for the last month, doing my notes and getting ready and stuff. With everything that's going on with the BYU program, with guys leaving, 2 transfers coming in, the 2 wideouts, which guys are going to play, which guys are going to be suspended. It's really, I think it's hard. You know the schemes, but you're not so sure about the personnel.
When you look at this 2014 edition of Connecticut, what's the biggest difference from last year's 3-win team?
Conditioning, purely. They're in better shape. They're more confident. I think they go into the season with Casey Cochran as the quarterback and Chandler Whitmer being what Coach Diaco calls the key backup as strength there. I think the defense is excited to play what they feel will be an attacking style under the coordinator, Anthony Poindexter, and the co-coordinator, Vincent Brown, whose nickname was The Undertaker when he played in the NFL for the Patriots. I think a lot of it is mental. That the reason why I think UConn is better prepared for this season to begin. Now, what happens when they go against Taysom Hill and all those big receivers and those guys on defense who have been around a little bit, maybe a different story. Things change when you start hitting somebody else. But they just seem to be more confident, and they're anxious to get out there and want to test themselves against what they think is a pretty good team.
Joe D'Ambrosio, 7-time Connecticut Sportscaster of the Year on BYU Sports Nation. Joe, much has been said about this two-quarterback situation that Bob Diaco is now dealing with. I know he's named a starter in Cochran, but is there an issue there with playing two quarterbacks? Is it a disadvantage? Like, why are they married to the idea of playing two quarterbacks?
Well, I mean, everybody says this, and I've said it too. When you have two quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterback.
Yeah.
You got to go back a ways to find the last time that a two quarterback system tended to work. For the older people, maybe in the NFL with Sonny Jurgensen and Billy Kilmer for the Redskins back in the beginning of time when they played leather helmets. But they think Chandler Whitmer, who had been the starter for 16 straight games before he was replaced after the fourth game a year ago, nobody thought he would come back to school. He's come back. He's come back with a good attitude. And the thing that I think they like is he gives them a little different look. He's more agile. He's a better athlete than Cochran is. He's nowhere near as good a passer. He's nowhere near as good, I think, as a field general. But I think the thing they'll do with Whitmer is they'll put him in positions and situations where he feels comfortable. Last year he was the whole thing. He was the whole deal. He was expected to run the entire show, and he struggled with that. And the fans, frankly, were a little bit unkind towards him. Every mistake UConn made, they seemed to blame Whitmer for it. This year, that's not going to be the case. He's going to be put in a situation where they're going to maximize his opportunity to succeed. Now, will it work? Let's see.
Yeah, that's the hope,
I
right?
would think eventually, and again, I have no inside knowledge of this, nor should I, but I would think eventually it will become a one-quarterback team.
You would hope, yeah, for sure. But, Joe, the real question is Chandler Whitmer does not have a Boba Fett tattoo or a mullet.
Well, the mullet, trust me, the mullet has gotten, I can't remember the last hairstyle on a guy that's gotten that much attention. Cochran's a great kid, like Taysom Hill. He's nominated for the AFCA Good Works team. His dad was a legendary high school coach in the state. He said he got the idea from MacGyver. He's a big MacGyver fan.
Or McGruber.
And the kids on the team at Media Day took great pleasure in throwing every pot shot Cochran's way that they could. He's crazy. He's a little bit different. He marches to his own drummer. The typical stuff. But he does have their respect, and it was pretty evident last year that when he was the quarterback, they felt they're most confident. Now, they played the other than SMU, they played the three worst teams on their schedule.
Yeah.
But he played well in those games. So, I think Friday night will be the first time that he has started a game against a team this good.
BYU is a 16.5-point favorite. How does UConn make this a closer game than 16.5 points like most experts are predicting?
I think they have to control the ball. I think they've got to convert any sort of mistakes that Hill and the BYU team will make. I know the special teams, from reading everything, was a bit of a concern last year for the Cougars. Maybe they can force a couple of special team errors. I think UConn's got to get into the game early so that the fans get into it and get the crowd on their side. We're New Englanders here. We're pretty fickle. We'll turn on you in a heartbeat. Just ask the Red Sox. So I think don't try to do too much. Convert any mistakes BYU makes into points. Maybe break a big play or two during the game, and basically just try to slow them down early and keep the crowd into the game. And then they did that with Michigan last year. Michigan was a far superior team. Came in here as a double-figure favorite, and the game went down to the last couple of minutes. So anybody who played for this team last year against Michigan knows the scenario.
What's the biggest advantage you see BYU has on Connecticut?
Play-by-play guy's much better.
No.
Oh, look out. We know the BYU guy. He won't like it.
He won't like that I said he's better?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the BYU guy's better.
Yes,
Yeah.
come on, guys.
Joe,
I'm not trying to cause trouble here.
I know. I was like, wow, Joe.
Yeah,
No, I like Greg. Greg and I have had some great phone conversations.
There you go.
In fact, I'm calling him in a couple of minutes to get him on our coaches show.
There you go.
Tonight. No, I think the biggest advantage BYU has is Taysom Hill. As good as Cochran is, I think Hill's a terrific quarterback. Now, obviously, he's missing a couple of weapons. The receivers appear to be pretty good for BYU. There's certainly depth there. And I think the play fast thing, I like any team that plays that way. I think a team that plays fast and hard like that in this era of college basketball has a bit of an advantage. I know the offensive line for BYU, they've only listed 9 guys who could play, so that's easy to get ready for. Defensively, there's been some moving around. There's been some people hurt. I think the big tall kid at the defensive end can be a bit of a problem. And I just think the experience. I mean, BYU's played on a pretty big stage. They played Texas. They played Virginia. Teams like that. They played Notre Dame. Nothing's going to happen on Friday night that's going to intimidate the BYU kids. Plus, I think, and this is the case in every game, the BYU's older. Their sophomores are not 18, 19 years old for the most part. And I think that's an advantage.
Joe D'Ambrosio, voice of the UConn Huskies, with us on BYU Sports Nation. Joe, always great to have you.
I can't believe you guys are trying to stir up trouble between me and Rubel. That's hurtful.
No trouble here, Joe. No trouble here.
We will set the record straight.
Okay.
I promise. And I will seek you out in East Hartford. Look forward to talking with you when I get there.
Yeah, I look forward to it, guys. Always a pleasure. Thanks a lot, and keep looking at those 5-day forecasts because much like mock drafts, they're the most useless things on planet Earth.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, guys.